Hi, my name is Joanne Serpa. This is my therapy dog, Sitka, and we're proud volunteers with Community Hospice. Sitka and I have been volunteering with Community Hospice for just over 6 years now. We got involved. I had a friend who was a patient at the Alexander Cohen House, and at that time there was a therapy dog that made the rounds at the house, and it made it a little bit easier for her children to come and visit her. She lost her battle with cancer, but it was shortly after that that I got Sitka certified as a therapy dog, and we now come every week to the Alexander Cohen House in memory of my friend Kristen. I support Community Hospice because I truly believe that it fills such a need in our general population. There is a statistic that states 1 in 7 children will lose a significant person in their life before the age of 20, and so I think hospice helps fulfill so much of those needs of those people. When I first signed up to volunteer with hospice, I kind of had a preconceived idea that I think a lot of people have the same, that you think cancer, hospice. I wasn't aware of the multitude of opportunities and services that they provide to our general population. I wasn't aware about the school programs that they offer for grief, for children who are experiencing grief. The bereavement clubs and organizations, the Cohen House, Camp Aaron, the list goes on, that Community Hospice offers so much to our community that nobody else does. And I think it's vital for the success of a society to offer these things. One thing that Sitka and I do is I'm assistant to the camp director for Camp Aaron. Camp Aaron is a 3-day camp where we take children who've experienced a loss up to the mountains, and we help them process the grief. A lot of times children, they're expected just to, we think grief doesn't hit them as hard as it does adults. We kind of expect them just to continue on. And kids, they don't want to grieve sometimes. They're afraid that they're going to upset their loved one. If they've lost a parent, they don't want to upset their other loved ones by crying or showing emotions. At camp, we allow them to express their emotions. We allow them, a lot of times they never said goodbye to their loved one. They get that opportunity at camp. Another thing for the children is I had a conversation with a girl once at camp who was about junior high age, and she commented that she had lost her mother and that her friends didn't understand, that happened 5 months ago, aren't you over that? No, we help children get through the process and being able to say goodbye. So there's also camaraderie that they realize they're not alone. Not only do they have adults that will support them, but they also have a camaraderie with the other campers. There's other kids who are feeling the exact same emotions that they have felt, and chances are they hadn't met anybody like that before. When you ask a grieving child, hey, do you want to go to grief camp? Most of the time they're going to say no. But when they get there, it is a little bit of a summer camp. They still get to do fun things. And it also is some grief work. And it's kind of a cool thing to see on Sunday when they're getting on the bus, the bonds that form between the campers and the counselors and the adults who are there. There are bonds that form, and they go back different than when they arrived at camp. And it truly is remarkable to watch that whole transition of these campers. It truly is an honor to be a part of that. Community hospice is important because all of us face death. All of us have that at some point, with a loved one or something. And community hospice, I'm always amazed, the more I'm entrenched in this organization, that they're so proactive. They anticipate this need. We've just started our palliative care program. They've always looking on where does our community have a need that needs to be filled in this whole process. And the whole chain of command from the top to the bottom of this organization is so proactive on figuring out what does our community need and how can we best service them. As a volunteer, I find that very impressive, and I'm proud to be a part of that process too. At the Alexander Cohen House one time, Sick and I went into a room again. We walked in as strangers, and it was a very joyful room. It was a father who was passing away, but there was so much joy and love in this room. It was filled with his children and family members, and they had a guitar, they were singing. We had a chaplain at the time who also sang, and it was everybody should be so lucky to have that kind of a process. So I joined in, and Sitka will go in and if it's okay with the family, she'll lick the patient's hand. And sometimes we get a response and sometimes we don't. And I tell the family, you know, sometimes we might get something, sometimes we won't. So Sitka went in and the dad was pretty non-responsive. And I introduced myself and told him that I had a black lab who wanted to give her a little puppy love. And Sitka started to lick his hand. And the gentleman's eyes opened up and he went, "It's a dog." And everybody, of course, started to laugh. And the family was able, the dad came back for just a little bit of a moment there. And his son was able to go over and talk to him and tell him that they were all there. And it was just a really cool moment. And I happened to run into the son not too long after his father had passed away. And he said that was the last time he was able to talk to his dad. And so just that little moment, it gave him that extra time, that extra memory with his dad. And I always thought that was a really cool thing to have happen. I'm Joanne Serpa, this is Sitka, and we're very grateful to those who started Community Hospice, the people that had the foresight and the fortitude to see that our community needed something like this. And it truly is an honor to be a part of such an organization that's so progressive in the thought, so active in our community. And I wish Community Hospice many more years, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of its history.